40 years of sawdust and sweat ended with a polished mahogany desk and a folder full of lies. My son, Derek, walked into my office not with a handshake, but with a phalanx of lawyers and a look of practiced pity. "You're retired today, Dad," he said, sliding a document toward me. "We're transferring ownership for the long-term health of the company." I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I looked at Derek, then at his wife, Nicole, a woman whose law degree was a weapon she used with a cold, practiced smile. I simply grabbed the black canvas bag I'd kept packed for 3 months, walked to the elevator, and left. They thought the old man was stepping aside. They were wrong. They had stolen the building, the letterhead, and the logo. But they forgot one thing: I am the one who knows how to build. And I'm even better at taking things apart. The crack in the foundation. The betrayal didn't happen on that Tuesday. It had been eroding the foundation for years. I'm Walter Price, 68 years old. I built Price Construction Group from a single pickup truck into a Dallas powerhouse. Derek grew up on my job sites, asking about load-bearing walls. I thought he wanted to learn the craft. It turns out he just wanted to measure the prize. Nicole was the architect of the coup. She saw a successful business and hated that an old man with dirt under his fingernails held the keys. 2 years ago, Derek streamlined accounts. A year ago, he stopped inviting me to investor briefings. The turning point came when Sandra, my loyal accountant, called me on a Sunday. "Derek's authorized an outside firm to value all assets, Walter," she whispered. I thanked her, hung up, and went back to my woodshop. I spent 2 hours chiseling white oak. Panic is an expensive reaction, and I've never been able to afford it. Instead, I made a list. 2 pages of every red flag I'd ignored. Then, I called a man named Glenn Foster, a lawyer who makes other lawyers lose sleep. For 11 weeks leading up to that Tuesday, I played the part of the fading patriarch. I nodded in meetings and let Derek finish my sentences. Behind the scenes, Foster and I were repositioning the weight. I moved my personal holdings, $1.87 million, into a revocable trust. I restructured my 51% voting stake. Most importantly, I began the paperwork for a new entity, Price Built LLC. When I walked out that Tuesday, Derek thought he'd won. By 9 a.m. the next morning, he realized the win was hollow. Every server password had been changed. Every proprietary project management tool was locked. He called 47 times. I didn't answer once. He tried to sue, of course. His team filed an emergency motion to freeze my assets, claiming I'd signed a non-compete agreement back in 2019. The notary's ghost. Foster called me, his voice tight. "They produced a signed non-compete, Walter. Your signature is on it. March 14th, 2019. I knew I'd never signed it. You don't sign a non-compete against yourself. We dug into the document. The notary stamp belonged to a woman named Patricia Aldridge. Foster did what Derek's high-priced team failed to do. He checked the records. Patricia Aldridge received her commission in September 2019, Foster told me. The document is dated 6 months before she was legally a notary. It was a state jail felony, document fabrication. Nicole had gotten arrogant. She'd pulled my signature from an old consent form and backdated a forgery. I didn't just have a defense, I had a hammer. We filed a counter motion and a criminal referral. The look on Nicole's face in the deposition was worth more than the company itself. A brief, flickering moment where she realized she wasn't as smart as the law she tried to bend. The Exodus. A construction company isn't made of bricks, it's made of people. I called Chris Malloy, my head foreman for 20 years. Derek had tried to buy his loyalty with an $18,000 check. "I'm not asking for your loyalty, Chris," I told him. "I'm offering you a job at Price Built. Same crew, better pay, and a stake in the net profit." Within 2 weeks, My top 3 project managers and the IT lead had resigned from the old office. They didn't want to work for a VP of operations who wore suits that cost more than their trucks. They wanted to work for the man who knew how to pour a slab in July heat. The final blow came through a Houston investor named Steve Bolton. Derek had been courting him for a $3 million infusion to save his sinking ship. I sent Bolton a factual, 6-page memorandum detailing the ongoing litigation and the fraud investigation. Bolton didn't just walk away from Derek, he called me. "I like a man who anticipates the cracks," Bolton said. He invested $2.8 million into Price Built LLC, the empty shell. By autumn, the Price Construction Group was a ghost. They lost 3 major municipal contracts because they didn't have the foreman to run the sites. The bank pulled their credit line after the fabrication news hit the papers. Derek called me one last time. His voice sounded thin, stripped of the bravado he'd carried in his sharp suits. "Dad, we should talk. Whatever happened, you're still my father." "Derek," I said, looking out at the Dallas skyline I'd helped build. "I didn't leave the company. I took it with me. You have the office on Commerce Street and the fancy letterhead. Enjoy them. But the substance? That walked out in a canvas bag months ago."